Hi, in this video we are going to cover some of the basics relating to fractions, and then in the next video we will look at adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing fractions. So let's begin. A fraction is represented by a numerator and a denominator. The denominator represents how many equal pieces there are in the whole, and the numerator represents how many of these pieces that we have. Let's have a look at three common terms used when dealing with fractions. Firstly, let's start with proper fractions. These are fractions where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. If the numerator is greater than the denominator, then it's called an improper fraction, or top-heavy fraction. Mixed numbers are those that are composed of both a whole number and a proper fraction. The term equivalent fractions is used to denote fractions that have the same value. By multiplying or dividing the numerator and denominator by the same number, you get an equivalent fraction. For example, 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6, or in reverse, 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. Another example is shown on screen where we are dividing both the numerator and denominator by 4. Now let's have a look at simplifying fractions by considering the fraction 36/48. To simplify a fraction, we divide both top and bottom of the fraction by a common factor to both numerator and denominator. In this example, 3 is a common factor of both top and bottom, and therefore dividing both numbers by 3 gives the fraction 12/16. A fraction is said to be in its simplest form when it is not possible to divide the numerator and denominator by a shared common factor. In this example, 12 and 16 also share a common factor, which is 4, and therefore the fraction is not in its simplest form. Dividing both numerator and denominator by 4 gives us 3/4, or 3/4. As there is no common factor between 3 and 4, we can now say the fraction is in its simplest form. Normally when trying to simplify a fraction, we start by finding the highest common factor first, which is 12 in the case of 36/48. Dividing both top and bottom by the highest common factor gives you the fraction in its simplest form in one step. Now we will look at a method of finding the highest common factor between two numbers. To find the highest common factor linking numbers, first list the factors of each number and then identify the highest common value from between the lists. Consider the numbers 12 and 15. The factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12, and the factors of 15 are 1, 3, 5 and 15. From these lists we can see that 1 and 3 are the only common factors, and therefore 3 is the highest common factor. When adding and subtracting fractions, it is sometimes necessary to first find the lowest common multiple. To find the lowest common multiple linking numbers, first list the factors of each number and then identify the lowest common value from between the lists. You can find the multiples of a number by multiplying it by 1, then 2, then 3, and so on and so forth. For example, the numbers 6 and 8 have multiples as shown on screen, and from these lists we can see the lowest common multiple is 24. It should be noted that the highest common factor and lowest common multiple can be found using prime factorization, and this method will be covered in a later video. But the methods just described work well for small numbers.